Hello everyone, I am Klitaya Savanapredi Wahlquist. I'm the oldest daughter to Tom and Chinda. First, from my family, thank you so much for all your sympathy, kindness, and all your support during this very difficult time for our family. We created this video to celebrate the lives of two remarkable people, my mom and dad, Tom and Chinda, also known as Tanah to a lot of people. It is extremely difficult for me to speak at the celebration of life for the two people that have served as the narrators of my own life. In the hours and days since their death, I feel as if I've lost my words, but I will give it my best shot. Chinda was a caring wife, mother, grandmother, sister, aunt, and friend. She was born to humble beginnings on December 15, 1932, in a small town of Mehumsan in upper northern Thailand. She was the fourth of 7 children who was a born leader, excelled academically, and was successful at anything that she touched. After graduating from high school, she chased her dreams of moving to the big city of Bangkok to pursue her desires to become a nurse. After receiving an academic full-ride scholarship ranking 4th out of 4,000 test applicants to the prestigious Sirilad nursing school, she studied and graduated at the top of her class. After graduating from nursing school, she started her nursing career at the Police General Hospital in the Pathum 1 district in Bangkok. My dad was born Savanapridi Savanapredi on February 10, 1932 in Jammuang, Thailand. He had a sister who sadly died after a few months after birth, and he also has a brother, Akasin. As he grew older, accustomed to the Thai tradition, a fortune teller told my grandparents to change his first name to bring him great luck and fortune. So they changed his first name to Tanah. He would continue to go by that first name for many years until 1980 when he became a U.S. citizen. It was then that his name was changed again to Thomas to become more Americanized. Dad was educated through college in Thailand. After graduation and during the late 1950s, at the height of the Vietnam War, he was commissioned into the military and rose to the rank of captain in the Design, Engineering, and Instruction Unit of the Thai Air Force. My parents met at a social gathering through friends at a dance in Bangkok. She was smitten by the handsome and ambitious young man who drove a fancy car. Together they found that they had the same mutual interest of wanting to explore life in the U.S. My parents were married in February of 1958. I was born in January of 1959. After they had me, an opportunity arose where my dad was accepted to study at the prestigious architectural program at the then private University of Houston. Also at the same time, there was a shortage of nurses in the U.S., and my mom was granted a permanent residency card to enter and work as a nurse in the United States. It was then that they realized that they could not take a small baby to a foreign land while my dad was studying at the university and my mom was working at the hospital. Thank goodness for a large generational household. My dad's parents, along with aunts, uncles, cousins, other Savanapridi families, and a handful of household helpers were more than happy and volunteered to care for me until my dad finished his master's degree. So off they went to Houston, Texas. The stories of when they first arrived in Houston as a foreign student would astonish most people with their determination and fortitude to succeed in this new place almost 15,000 miles across a great big ocean from their homeland. They pretty much had to learn a new language, culture, food, and acclimated to this new life on their own, without knowing a single English word. Chinda was offered a nursing position at the prestigious Memorial Hermann Texas Medical Center in Houston, Texas. She quickly learned the English language as they continued to live in Houston and later in Los Angeles. Dad did complete his architectural studies, and in 1966, Mom and Dad returned to Thailand after his master's degree completion and gave birth to their second daughter, Lisa. Our family lived in Thailand for the next 2 years while my dad worked as an architect designing luxury homes in Bangkok along with hotels at various beach resorts. However, they both really enjoyed their short time in the U.S., and it was then that they decided that the U.S. presented the best opportunities for their children in terms of education and future. In 1966, they left their good, comfortable life in Thailand, and the entire family immigrated to California, where they would raise my sister and me. There are no lessons about the art of mothering. We can only do our best and hope that we do it well. Well, my mother certainly got an A++ in this. Chinda spent the next 25 years as an operating room register nurse at Rancho Los Amigos Hospital while raising her family and caring for her husband. There was nothing that she could not do. Chinda was a great cook, seamstress, crafter, gardener, and overall superwoman. Never once did any of her daughters ever have to go without. My sister and I did not have to worry about favors or decorations at our weddings because my mom had it all covered. If she was not able to purchase it from a store, she would spend nights and weekends designing and creating it for us. It was not unusual for my mom to stay up and knit me a ski beanie to match my ski outfits right before one of my ski trips. She was notorious for thinking that she did not have to spend the big dollars binding designer labels for her granddaughters by making the clothes for them with the same Chinda replicated designer logos until we finally told her that there was a thing called trademark infringement, so she stopped. My dad spent his years working for various architectural firms, and one of his proudest projects was designing the international airport in Saudi Arabia. Dad was never a man of many words. He expressed his love through his actions. Dad's love was unconditional, and this is something I will cherish from his character and take with me forever. His kindness and generosity will be remembered by all who had the pleasure of knowing him. I could not have asked for a better dad. He was generous, supportive, hardworking, and he could fix just about anything having to do with the house and the yard. Thus, the reason why he was awarded the Yard Beautification Award by the City of Cerritos 2 years in a row. After we grew up, got married, and moved out of the house in Cerritos, my parents decided to move to Las Vegas, Nevada for their retirement years. They would continue to go back and forth between Los Angeles, Arcadia, and Las Vegas for the past 25 years. After retiring from her career as a nurse and spending years in surgical scrubs, Chinda became interested in real estate and decided to take the real estate sales exam. As you can imagine, she passed the exam on the first try and spent the next 5 years successfully driving her white car with the Chinda license plate selling residential properties. She was very proud of the Gold Century 21 blazer that she wore when she interacted with her clients. Many of us still have the Chinda fly swatters, notepads, or rubber jar openers that she gave out as marketing tools to promote her real estate business. Chinda always had the desires to continue the learning process. She became interested in photography before the birth of her first grandchild. She decided to take college courses to refine her technical photography and darkroom skills. Her grandchildren all benefited from private photo sessions with Grandma, and we are all forever grateful for the photographs that we have that are near and dear to our hearts today. In the later years, my parents continued to enjoy their retirement by traveling all over the world with family and friends. Of course, my mom could not cease altogether from her creativity, as we all continued to be the beneficiaries of baby blankets, pillows, embroidered towels, pillowcases, holiday craft decorations, and holiday napkins. She enjoyed spending time cooking for her grandchildren and introducing them to Roger and Hammerstein movies. It is not unusual for her granddaughter to refer to the Sound of Music movie as the Doe-a-Deer movie while enjoying sticky rice and beef. Tom was such a good dad, mainly because he cared so much. He was also a wonderful papa in the eyes of his children and grandchildren. He could do no wrong. I've heard from friends and relatives near and afar wonderful stories and memories that they have of my dad. I am humbled at how he must have touched your lives. I can only speak for myself, but when I think of how he touched my life, the first word that comes to mind is admiration. My admiration for my dad stems from his love and commitment to my mom. For 65 years, they have shared everything that life could offer together. They were a great team, supporting each other through all aspects of life. They married less than a year after meeting and were rarely separated from one another. Together, they built a loving home, family, and life. They have had more battles to face together than most, and even in the darkest days, they stayed with each other. During his last days, his only concern was for Mom's well-being and not for his own imminent mortality. Even though Dad is no longer here with us, he will never be forgotten, and his grandchildren will always be reminded of the extraordinary man he was. As one of his nieces recently said, he was one of the irreplaceable ones. He was the anchor of the Savanapridi family. We all looked to him for advice and answers. Until COVID-19 and working from home, my daily routine would be to call him on my way home from work just to hear his voice and to see what commotion was going on at the Las Vegas house. I cannot begin to imagine not having Dad on the other end of the phone or showing up with a tool in hand at a moment's notice to assist in his ever graceful manner with any project, great or small, with which I happen to be needing advice or help with, or to be with my children, Lauren and Matthew. Dad was always there for everyone, family, friends, neighbor, and colleagues. Dad was also there for Mom to the point that she never had to worry about anything when Dad was around. He took care of everything. My mom passed away 16 days before her loving husband, Tom. I've lost my wonderful mother, companion, advisor, and mentor. I am so honored to have been her daughter. I'm grieving the amazing relationship that I had with her. It was a privilege to be her daughter. Words could never be enough to describe how much I miss you. I keep occupying myself as much as I could in order to skip moments of reminding myself that you are gone. Rest in peace, Mom. You were such an amazing person to me. You gave us all the best you could. You gave a never-ending supply of yourself and your love to us, your children and grandchildren. Thank you, Mom, for being the most amazing mom and grandma. We love and miss you. I know you are with Dad now and can walk and dance. There's no more wheelchair or confusion. Dad, you lived a beautiful life with integrity. Every breath was for your family, showing unwavering strength during unspeakable pain when Mom passed away. We were all blindsided by your death. We thought we would have you forever. Your love, patience, generosity, understanding, and wisdom will live on with us forever. To say I love my dad would be an understatement, and to say that I'm going to miss him would be an even greater understatement. It is incredibly hard to imagine life without him. I love you so much, Mom, and will miss you more than words could say. I will hold you forever in my heart. Dad, Mom is waiting. Rest easy now, Dad. I will miss you each and every day. We love you, and you are forever in our hearts. It is an honor to share my precious memories of my parents with all of you. They will be missed by all, but their memories will live on in us forever. Thank you.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I know you're not surprised that your daughter who lives to write is writing to you in heaven. I know you're both together now and that you're watching over us. I'm comforted by knowing that Mom is no longer in any pain, and I hope she's not nagging you too much, Dad. I had the hardest time at your service even before our car was parked. I saw the white hearse that you both were in, and I told myself I could not handle this. But then I thought about how I felt when I was little and I watched Dad get that call from Thailand that grandfather had passed away. Dad's emotions took over, and in that moment I knew how much he really loved grandfather. So in the car on the way to your service, I took that opportunity to talk to Kyle and Ava and tell them that my emotions of grief were so deep because that's how much I loved you both and how much I knew you both loved me. I am so thankful that you both were in my home in your last days and that we had that time together. I witnessed Mom always calling out for you, Dad. And Dad, you tried your best, but it was obvious you were completely exhausted. After hearing your last words to Mom, I know now that there is such a thing as everlasting love between two people, and that love can stay strong after 65 years of marriage. You two could never be apart, and those last moments we all shared together will stay with me forever. I think back to my childhood, and I feel so lucky to have been raised in such a loving household. You both always supported Klitaya and I in everything we did. You asked that we study hard and aim high and take advantage of every opportunity that came before us. I am so thankful that you both lived long enough to see us both raise our families and thrive in our careers and to really know and love all of your grandchildren. You saw Kyle grow up into a fine young man and really spread his wings and find his voice in college. And you got to watch our little Ava blossom into such a strong and smart young lady with a big heart. Mom, there are so many things that will remind me of you for the rest of my life. Your Thai cooking, your zucchini and banana bread, your stuffed mushrooms at Thanksgiving, and all the hand-sewn gifts you've given us over the years. When I see the color hot pink, I will think of you. I will keep in my heart the special times we had together, like when I was a teenager and in a lavender mood, and you helped me paint my room that color. I will remember the many times we laughed, like back when Seinfeld was popular and you muted the TV while you were talking to Aunt Candy on the phone. It was that episode in the restaurant with the spoon, and still so funny, even without sound. I was rolling on the couch with tears streaming down my face, and you hung up the phone and laughed with me. Dad, I will miss the sound of your voice, the wisdom in your advice, and just being in your presence. I will think of you when I'm taking pictures, eating fruit, trying to garden, and giving treats to my dogs under the table, all things you love to do. Most of all, I will miss how you were always so intentional with your praise of everyone you loved. You always told us how much you loved us, how proud you were, and you always let everyone you met know how thankful you were for any kindness or help you received. Mom and Dad, just know that if my love for you could have saved you, you'd still be here. But there was a bigger plan. So when tomorrow starts without you, I'll have comfort in knowing you both are together in heaven. I'm going to say goodbye for now, but not forever. I hope to see you both one day at heaven's gates. And until then, I hope to see you often in my dreams. I'll love you forever. Your daughter, Lisa.
My grandparents were wonderful people and role models. They were trailblazers and accomplished so much in their lifetime and made such an impact on so many lives, including my own. I have so many wonderful memories with them both, and together they taught me so much, but especially to work hard, dream big, love, travel the world, and take advantage of every moment life presents. Having them as my grandparents presented and left me with so many memories that I'll never forget. My grandma was always so creative, funny, honest, and taught me so much. The embroidery machine can make almost anything, she would always say. Wear lots of brights, colors, and fuzzy socks. Check your blood pressure often, and don't forget extra snacks for the road, especially all the time she would pack us sticky rice. My grandpa was always so patient, caring, and thoughtful. He always remembered our birthdays, and always was so thoughtful and respectful with all his words and actions. He taught us to take advantage of every moment that life presents, and to take lots of pictures for the memories, and making sure everyone was positioned perfectly for the shot, while Grandma worked on everyone's posture. As I grew up, they were always there to support me in all my milestones, and I'll never forget that. They truly presented an example of showing up and being there for the big life events, even if that means flying all the way across the country. Over the past few years, seeing my grandparents always put a smile on my face. The most special memory I have with them was in 2017, when Tommy and I flew out to Las Vegas and stayed with just the two of them, and it was just the four of us for a couple of days. It was a lot of storytelling, gossiping, and goofy memories, but thinking about that time spent with them always put a smile on my face. I always remember the past 2 years of their lives talking about the most ridiculous things with them, even if it didn't really make sense, and we were just more focusing on really enjoying each other's company and not taking anything for granted or too seriously. One of my favorite things was the way my grandparents would say certain words, and I find myself just wanting to use that pronunciation instead, because they always had such a lighthearted way of saying them and always laughing it off if they didn't get it right, including wanting a sandwich from To Go's, a Starbucks mug for Christmas, and telling us to enjoy our honeymoon in Bola Bola, of course, and so much more. But the reason I found I liked the way they pronounced these things was because it always made me think about how hard they worked when they came from Thailand to learn English, and that I am always so grateful, and whenever I think of these places, I think of them. They were really there for everything, starting from the day I was born to most recently Tommy and I's wedding day in Washington, D.C. I'm so thankful for all the time I get to spend getting to know them. It's really rare that I find people my age knowing both of their grandparents for as long as I did, and I feel so lucky that they made such an impact on my life and Tommy's life and mine together in the future. I will always love them and miss them both so much, but will continue to live on their legacy each and every day.
ขอกราบดวงวิญญาณของพี่จินดาและพี่ธนาสาวนปรีดีด้วยความรักและอาลัยในการจากไปอย่างไม่มีวันกลับของพี่ทั้งสองลูกๆหลานๆและน้องๆทุกคนใจหายและเศร้าสลดใจอย่างไม่อาจจะพรรณนาได้พวกเราได้สูญเสียผู้ที่เป็นที่เคารพรักและผู้ที่มีพระคุณต่อพวกเราอย่างล้นเหลือพี่ทั้งสองคือผู้บุกเบิกและนำพาพวกเรามาตั้งรกรากอยู่ในอเมริกาต่อแต่นี้ไปพวกเราคงจะต้องเศร้าสลดใจและคิดถึงพี่ทั้งสองไปอีกชั่วกาลนานสุดท้ายนี้ด้วยความรักเคารพและอาลัยพวกเราขออาราธนาสิ่งศักดิ์สิทธิ์ทั้งหลายในสากลโลกจงช่วยดลบันดาลและนำพาดวงวิญญาณของพี่จินดาและพี่ธนาสาวนปรีดีไปสู่สุคติและสู่สวงสวรรค์ด้วยเถิดรักเคารพและอาลัยแอดตอมทิพกนกครอบครัวออสซี่และครอบครัวไดซ์
This is Shane Savanapridi. Chinda and Tanah were my aunt and uncle. I used to love the stories that Uncle Tanah would tell about how they met. He was the big city boy sweeping the country girl off her feet. That was the way he told it anyway. We also bonded over photography. He was always so proud to tell me about his Hasselblad medium format equipment. Aunt Chinda I will miss for her sense of humor. Her wisecracks always made me laugh. And once she got on Facebook, she would comment on posts from 3 years ago that she suddenly came across. Sometimes her comments had nothing to do with the original post, but I always laughed out loud. We'll miss them both, and they leave behind a huge space that will never be filled.
Thank you, Aunt Chinda and Uncle Tanah, for being a part of our lives. I always appreciated talking with you both, whether it was hearing spunky stories from Aunt Chinda or having thoughtful conversations with Uncle Tanah. I remember how my walks around my work felt more meaningful knowing that Uncle Tanah had designed the Alhambra complex where I worked every day for 10 years. And I will be forever thankful to Uncle Tanah for presiding over our tie wedding ceremony as the family elder. Shane, the kids, and I are grateful to the family that you created. You raised two amazing women that continue your demonstrations of love, generosity, and thoughtfulness. We love you. We miss you. Thank you. Love always, Heather Savanapridi.
I have known Lisa's family for 38 years. I first met Mr. and Mrs. Savanapredi when I was 17 years old. Lisa and I were seniors in high school. And my parents were so far away because they moved back to Seoul, Korea. And I was trying to finish out my last year of high school. And then when I met Lisa, and she invited me into her home and into her family, and I got to know Mr. and Mrs. Savanapredi and her older sister Klitaya, and I just felt like I was with a family again, and it made me feel so welcome and warm and loved again, because it's really hard being so far away from your parents at the age of 17. The very first memory I have of Mrs. Savanapredi was her in her kitchen talking. We catch up on all sorts of things, and we gossip all the time about celebrities, and she would make pad thai. And the first time I ever had it, I just remembered it was the most delicious thing I've ever eaten. And it just brings me back to those memories of having just delicious Thai food with Lisa and her family. Mr. Savanapredi was always very reserved and kind of quiet. And so when I would visit, I'd always say hi, and then I never wanted to disturb him, but he was always so attentive to everything that was going on. And it was just such a nice atmosphere being at Lisa's home with her parents. The almost last conversation I had with Mr. Savanapredi was in the past couple of years, visiting Lisa at our house in Arcadia, and Mr. Savanapredi was there at that time, so I lucked out and I got to see him. And I had this discussion with him about, everyone gives me a hard time about my husband who rides a Harley and how unsafe it is and something's going to happen. And Mr. Savanapredi just said, Julia, don't worry about it. I used to ride a motorcycle when I was young. As long as Kelly's safe and wears all the equipment and everything, he's going to be fine. He should enjoy it. You're only young once in your life. And I was just so grateful for that sage advice from Mr. Savanapredi, because I'm like, well, you're a smart and sensible man and you rode a motorcycle, and I guess that means it's okay. And I just felt so much better after that, just because having an adult tell me it's okay. I have so many great memories because I just have a history with Lisa's family, and there's just so many things that I could say, but the most important thing I want to say is that I know that Mr. and Mrs. Savanapredi are together up in heaven, holding hands, and they're shining down brightly on all of us. And whenever we look up in the sky and we see twinkling stars up there, I think we should all remember that two of them are Mr. and Mrs. Savanapredi looking out for all of us. They had so much love to give, and they gave it generously. And they will always be a part of my life and my memory, and a part of me will never be the same, but in their honor, I hope we can all celebrate all that they gave to each and every one of us.